BTL coming at you. Good Tuesday, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live. We're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, we are going to continue a very busy week in the world of professional bass fishing. Good show today. We're going to have Casey Scanlon on, having a decent year, sitting in 20th place in the AOI standings.
That's out of 170, Mark, so he's having a very good year.
Yeah, good year. Had a little slip up. It's Seminole, but first two events, rock solid, knows a lot about Grand Lake, so we're going to have him on live via Skype from Grand Lake, the scene of stop number 4 on the
turning
Tour.
point of the season. Anytime you can get an Ozark guy through 3 grass lakes in the top 20 of the Angler of the Year, I feel like that's a pretty successful accomplishment, Mark.
Yeah, the other event that's taking place, we mentioned it yesterday, Stage 3. Number 3 in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yep.
And the MLF BPT is taking place. Today is day 1. Squad A. You have a Squad A and a Squad B.
They're smashing them.
And, make sure you check that out after our show. I think they go live at 10 a.m. Eastern time, I believe, over on Major League Fishing. So a lot of stuff going on. And then what I'm curious about, Matthew, is I'm a weather guy. All right. It is noted on this show that I talk about the weather a lot. And this time of the year, it is somewhat rare that we're going to get the temperatures over the weekend that is predicted from lows. Now, we were talking before the show. Back in the day, Grand Lake, and still is, it still has a large number of events on that body of water here in Oklahoma. But there was an event last weekend. It took almost 28 pounds to win, 8 pounds. It's a team tournament, 8 pounds.
The Skeeter XFL.
To get a check.
That's Tim Reed's deal, right?
Yeah. They had, 170 entries?
100. I got it pulled up right here. 1 second. Holy cow. There were
nothing like
a lot
it
of
was
teams
back
that
in the
didn't
heyday.
weigh in, Mark.
Yeah.
173 teams, 260 fish weighed in. They paid back 147%.
Yeah.
827 pounds. Not that great for over.
Yeah.
And there were 18 limits out of the 173. Now,
we're in the last week of March, for crying out loud.
Right. Now, the team that won, Billy Lemon and Ed Broderick, 2789 with a 714 big fish. What is Billy Lemon known for on Grand Lake?
He's kind of the czar of the multi-lure rig.
Well, I don't know if he'd say. What did he catch on it a couple years ago? 12-12.
Yeah.
He's got I think it's a 12-12. He's got the lake record. I think he caught that at a Nichols tournament.
Yeah.
So he knows. Now, I have no idea. He could have been tight lining a centipede for all I know to catch those 28 pounds.
Well, the point I'm trying to make is Grand is not giving up really the weights that it's given up in the past. But at the same time, and we've talked about it before, going into this FLW event, it gets stingy
right before it gets. Remember what happened when the Elite Series was where that Kevin Van Dam won wire to wire? It sucked. They weren't catching them in practice, and then all of a sudden it exploded. So with those warm nights, it looks.
But it's gonna get freezing.
But leading
on
up
Friday
into,
night,
right. But they'll still have today, they still have tomorrow, and they still have Thursday. I mean, that's three. What are 3 nights in the 50s and then 70s for the high? That makes a world of difference.
Yeah, but they're calling on Friday the lows Friday morning in the lower 30s to upper 20s.
Yeah, I'm glad I'll be in studio and not cover that one on location. But I'm just saying, leading into it, that's still going to push a bunch of fish up there, I think.
And
it can't.
My history on this lake, when that stage happens, and it happens just about every single year, what you end up getting is you get an event where guys catch big fish. They just don't catch a lot of fish. You agree with that?
Yeah, and I mean, it gets easy for a couple weeks. Now, I don't think they're going to hit it when it gets easy, but I think they'll hit it when it's more doable than it is now, because they're talking about team tournaments just massacring this thing. You know, on that tournament, there were 170 FLW guys out there and 183 Skeeter team guys out there.
Yeah.
So you basically had 400 boats beating on the thing. It had been windy. It had been cold, just slightly warming up. So it's going to actually get a little bit of a rest now for these next couple days. You're going to have warmer nights. You've seen how nice it is outside. I don't have a jacket on in the studio. So I think they'll catch them. I think 18 to 20 a day, and there'll be a couple 22s, 23s. Plus, there's too many good guys. I mean, Jeremy Lawyer, look at what he's done in the Triton Nichols there. Throw in Casey Scanlon. You have Kyle Cordiana. You've got Chad Warren. You've got Brad Hallman. You've got Randy Blockett. You got
Robertson
Dara Robertson. Jimmy Houston. I mean, Jimmy Houston had a top 10 last time we were there. There's a bunch of guys that are really familiar with Grand Lake and really familiar with how that thing fishes, and they have a lot of history to go off of.
It gets
if you
stingy,
look back
though,
at
man.
what Edwin's done there and what Jason Christie's done there, and there's a lot of tournament history on that lake where guys can kind of get really dialed in without even having been there before.
Yeah. We'll see, man. We'll see. I think this cold snap, this front that's getting ready to blow through, I am very, very curious, and I know a lot of people in Oklahoma want to see how these guys attack the conditions that are really predicted, and hopefully the weather guy is right.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. Warren and Pilcher.
What'd they have?
4 fish for 11 pounds. They cashed a $445 check. I bet they didn't even take that to the bank. That's probably the lowest check they've ever cashed at Grand Lake.
Probably. Wow. For them not to have a limit, it was probably pretty tough.
Chip Porsche had 15 pounds in that thing, former Elite Series pro.
Huh.
Yeah, there's a bunch of familiar names. Terry Butcher and Terry Butcher. They cashed a check. 38th place, 4 fish, 8.7 pounds.
Wow. When Butcher and Butcher, no limit for them. Yeah. That is going to be the intriguing thing, is how these guys attack what awaits them on Grand Lake. And we're going to get hopefully a little bit of insight with Casey here in about 10 minutes. He's going to be live from the water.
Now, when he fished that classic on Grand, I think he put in a lot of elbow grease.
Yeah.
Like, I think he had a lot of stuff, so he was very, very prepared for that tournament. So that was how long ago? 4 or 5 years ago when he fished that one?
Yeah.
You think any of that stuff is still there? It's still going to play that many years later? Or
Totally different.
different? Yeah.
I think the lake condition is totally different. And it was before the phase that, it gets kind of stingy. It was before the stingy phase. And right now, it's in the stingy phase.
Yeah, Wayne Diffie, 2 fish for $766.
Oh, well, they weren't on brush piles. All right. The second thing I want to bring up, I am not familiar with the bodies of water that Major League Fishing is fishing this week in North Carolina, but I like the concept, and I want your thoughts, Matthew. I like the concept of 3 different lakes. We haven't really talked about this. For their format and what they have going on, I think doing a different lake each round, not day, because the first 2 days, they're going to fish on the same body of water, but doing a different lake each round is pretty cool.
I agree. The 3 different lakes allows me to sleep at night with the zeroing of the weights after each round. On the same lake, no bueno. Yeah. Like I said, we've already gone into why it has to happen.
Yeah. I agree.
But I freaking hate it. The zeroing of the weights.
Yeah, I agree.
But on the 3 different lakes, I can live with that.
Yeah,
I'm
it's pretty
cool
cool
with that. I like to see that. Now, it's a completely different test because you've got 3 different lakes that you're going to see these guys totally adjust. No longer is the emphasis on dialing in on a pattern and then maximizing it.
Yeah.
It is now figuring out 3 different patterns or trying to carry over patterns or trying to figure out the differences.
Yeah.
There's definitely a different skill set involved in figuring out 3 lakes quickly as opposed to figuring out 1 lake and making it last.
Yeah.
It's very tolerable.
I like it, man.
I don't know. We've never had it before, so it's hard to say whether you like it or not. But the concept, I like the concept. I really like the concept.
I think the fact that the guys were able to go out and practice on all 3 lakes and kind of get an idea, it's somewhat pure. It's not totally pure, but it is somewhat pure from a big-time event.
Well, it is the purest form of competitive bass.
Well, that would be the other version of it, where they just show up.
I really like
this
this
version.
version.
Other version of it.
I'm very curious.
3 lakes over 3 rounds. I think it's very, very
I will
cool.
watch the replays of it. I will be occupied over the weekend, Mark. So the final 2 rounds will be replays for me.
Yeah,
But after we're done with the show, I'm sure I'll check it out. There's already a couple 7 pluses. Old Jason Christie already put one almost 8 in the boat this morning.
How about that? All right, the last thing I want to get into, and then we'll take a break and come back with Casey, is I was thinking about equipment. And when I was walking around the show at the class, they made a...
You were able to walk around?
Well, do this.
Do the shuffle?
Yeah, it was like a pinball machine almost, just bouncing off the bumpers of people. Anyway.
You just see your angry redhead sticking above the crowd with that back. Didn't someone try to steal your backpack at the show, Mark?
They did steal it. I didn't even talk about that.
No, you got to talk about that. We got 2 minutes.
No. After Scanlon, after we have him on.
Like legitimately stole your backpack
and
with valuable drives in it.
Yes.
And not like you saw him take it, like you were walking around the show and saw a dude with it.
Yeah.
And said, hey.
Because it was a very specific Nike backpack with a line on the back. Never.
Anyway, we'll get into it after Casey Scanlon.
What I was thinking about, and we're not going to get deep into this, but I want to prepare you. We will talk about this tomorrow. When I was walking around the show, they made a big deal about the Vexus debut. They had all the boats covered and all that and everything. And I was looking at all the accessories that were on there and all this stuff that 20, 25 years ago, you wouldn't even think about having the equipment that is on this boat, but guys still caught a lot of fish. So the question is can you name 3 things today that have had a massive impact from a financial perspective for these companies, from an angler perspective, which has given them a tremendous advantage in the game of tournament fishing, and from a weekend guy to where the weekend guy looks at that and says, dude, I got to get one of those.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're talking those like Power Poles, Ultrex.
That's one of it.
Okay,
that's
Power
2
Poles
of them.
is one. Ultrex is one.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to just say electronics because there's 2 things here. Obviously, there's the side imaging, down imaging, live scope, live view, whatever you want to call that stuff. And then there's also the chip, which is very, very expensive.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you won't know where to look in side imaging or down imaging if you don't have that chip that tells you where to go. And we had a guest on yesterday.
Yeah.
Chris Aldane, that said the most important thing you could do is learn how to read your chip in your graph, in your map.
Man,
so those are 2 separate things, but the same.
But just
those
think
are
about
the 3
that.
major.
25 years ago, you wouldn't even think of how much of an impact that equipment would make.
Mm-hmm.
And the conclusion is does it really help you to catch more fish?
And you can also throw batteries in there too now.
Yeah.
Because all these guys are running all this stuff and
yeah. It's just amazing.
They
had a base price on that boat.
Was it 90 grand?
No, a base price.
Yeah.
All right. And it said as low as, I think is what it said on the base price. And it was $73,000. Then they had I'm doing some ciphering here. They had $16,000 in accessories.
That's pretty low, actually.
$16,000. And obviously they had an Ultrex, they had graphs. They had power poles. They had. It's just amazing now that the amount of money that is being spent.
Are we about to
on accessories?
Enter accessory wars? I think that's going to be the next year between trolling motors and different graph features.
Yeah.
That's going to be like an arms race.
And it's unfortunate because the price isn't going down.
No.
It's going up.
But what's interesting is in each category, there are different leaders right now, but they aren't always going to be the leaders, are they? Do you think?
I don't know. There's a lot of competitors that are going to
big time guys that are going to get into the game. 2020 and even the rest of this year is going to be huge when it comes to where you can see when you look on your screen.
Yeah.
And what brand is on the button that you're pushing with your foot.
I'm kind of a weirdo, but every time I see a boat go down the highway, I notice it, a bass boat. And I could not tell you, besides the tin cans, the aluminum boats, I cannot tell you the last time I saw a bass boat going down the highway being towed that didn't have power poles on the back.
Well, I do because Brock, the guy I travel with, doesn't have them, so I stared at a
Why
boat
doesn't
with
he
him.
have them? I don't need those. Is that what he says?
No, he'd like to get them.
Yeah. They're kind of pricey. But everybody's got them, man. Everybody's got them.
I don't have one. Do you have them on?
No. Do you have them?
I got them on the cat.
Yeah.
But not on the little bitty skeeter that I got.
Well, it would probably sink that thing once it.
No, you could put some Sportsman series on an 18.5-foot boat.
I don't know about that. All right, we're going to take a break. Come back with Casey Scanlon live via Skype from Grand Lake. Everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Sleek new design with easy control file. The clearest images underwater with uncompromising range. Live mapping from the touchscreen. View notifications, video, even Google Maps on screen. And for the first time ever, real-time view of fish movements with live sight sonar. HDS Live. New from Lowrance.
It's about the hours spent getting everything just right. It's the attention to detail. Good just isn't good enough. It's the years spent on the water day after day. When you tie on a bait by Strike King, you're standing on the shoulders of legends.
Pros depend on hydraulic jack plates to get the best out of their boats. Do what they do. Demand Atlas performance. Atlas gets you from the bottom to the top in less than 8 seconds, even with the big 4 strokes. And when you gotta turn right around and get that heavy load back up in rough water, Atlas's innovative design and American-made components will get you there with confidence.
I'm at Depot. Just look for yourself. There's an Atlas jack plate on just about every professional's boat.
The Atlas hydraulic jack plate. You can depend on it.
Hey guys, Aaron Martins here. I'm going to be telling you about a new product by Scanlon. It's Scanlon PE x8. I've been using it almost extensively all year for my frogging, flipping, drop shotting, shaky heading, worming, jerk baiting. It's by far my favorite Scanlon braid. I honestly, I don't say this unless I think it's true, but honestly, it's the best braid in the market of any of the braids. Definitely check it out. It's a price point line, $14.95 for 165 yards, and that could last you a whole year, just one spool with using leader material. It's Scanlon PE x8. It's my favorite braid, and I think if you use it, it'll be your favorite braid too. AFCO has a new foul weather rain suit called the Hydronaut. A lot of the features that I really like about it first is the speed vent hood. If it's raining out, you know, how a person gets wet is when you run down the lake and the hood comes down. With the speed vent hood, it's going to stay up. It has a camera mount in the pocket on the chest. The Hydronaut has a 2-layer, 100% waterproof nylon shell. If you're interested in a rain suit that has a lot of cool features that's going to keep you dry, you need to check out the Hydronaut from AFCO.
All right, we are back on a Tuesday, getting ready for the next stop on the FLW Tour at one of our favorite lakes here in the great state of Oklahoma, Grand Lake.
Weren't you trying to buy a house there for like a year ago?
I'm still looking, dude.
Still looking?
Yeah. Just haven't found.
You were looking in the gated communities, though.
Well, there's not that many. I mean, that's kind of a wife thing.
And that was even before the BTL number skyrocketed. Can imagine now you'll be
UPS been very, very good to me.
You'll be in Duck Creek if our numbers keep increasing at this rate. You'll be at one of those deals with the golf cart.
It has nothing to do with BTL.
Where you can't get off of the lawn there because it's manicured and there's sprinklers right on the edge and you'll crush them.
No.
Can't even
That's
park
one thing
your boat
I'm never
in there.
doing, dude. I'm never selling my lawnmower. I will always have a lawn to mow. That's like my stress relief. That is my stress relief right now. Just get the headphones on, go out there and mow an acre. Fun stuff. You ever done that?
Yeah. I mow the backyard now.
What?
Yeah. I weed eat the edges.
What? It's
mow
dead grass right now. Where you're at right now.
Well, I just meant right now in my life. In this time period of my life, I have a backyard to mow.
But you haven't mowed yet.
No,
you
not
don't even
this
have
year.
a lawnmower. Does he have a lawnmower?
Brock, yeah. He's got a nice one. You got this little button on the side, and then you push it, and it assists you. Like it semi-rolls, it rolls on its own.
Assistance to mow the yard there, Grasshopper. All right, we are ready to go to our guest who's going to be live via Skype from Grand Lake.
How'd you pull this one off?
A man that well-respected in the Ozarks area. Guides on Lake of the Ozarks. What?
You just makes it sound like he's not respected outside of the Ozarks.
Dude, there are people, and he'll admit to this, there are people that fish the Lake of the Ozarks region that are not respected.
Oh, he knows his stuff.
All right?
He catches them.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like
he is well respected. I'm putting him up here on a plateau, and you want to drag him down.
I wasn't dragging him down.
You're
We're
trying
in the
to drag
Ozark
him down.
region now. I mean, this counts as the Ozark region, so he should be a lock for a top 10.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but we'll ask him. All right, let's bring him in here. Casey, you there, man?
I'm here. What's going on, guys?
All right, first of all, please, am I right or am I wrong? There are well-respected people, guides, anglers in the Ozarks region, and there are not well-respected anglers and guides in the Ozarks.
I would agree with that. Yeah, sure.
All right. I'm trying to put him in that upper tier, and Matt's trying to bring you down.
I wasn't trying to bring you down. I was trying to make a point that I think you're respected across the country, not just in the Ozark region. And Jeffries, who is a glass half empty type of guy, turned that around on me to make it sound like I was trying to say that you weren't respected.
I was listening a little bit. I appreciate it, Matt. You know, I'm worldwide, as we say, right?
Yeah, now you're going to get sued by James Watson, who's also an Ozark guy. But you've been catching them all over. I've seen you've been traveling around. You got on, like, what, secret lakes down in Florida and all across stuff and caught, like, 40-pound bags recently.
Yeah, we snuck off to a couple lakes in Texas and went down to Florida a little bit early. So it was cold up here in the Ozarks, so had to get away for a little bit.
Cool. All right, let's talk about the next step on the FLW Tour. You're on Grand Lake. Very familiar with the body of water. What can you tell us and the viewers kind of how things are setting up right now?
Yeah, it's a lake that I'm pretty familiar with. Been here quite a bit in the past. It's cold, man. It's been a cold winter here in the Ozarks, and these fish are a little lethargic still. So still warming up, and the fish are just now starting to get to the bank a little bit. So hopefully we got a really, really good tournament in front of us. We've had some decent weights down here in some of these team events. I know an A-Rig's probably played a little bit, but I'm looking forward to this week, man. It should be good.
How much better is the lake going to be in 3 days than it is right now, considering the highs are planning to be in the 70s without getting below freezing? Is this a deal where it could just pop off all of a sudden and they could all just go, all right, let's get up in 3 foot and eat?
Absolutely. I mean, they are literally 20 feet away from being on the bank. They're underneath our boat right now, swimming around, and you can see them on the electronics. So all they got to do is move up just a little bit and it'll be game on. So, trees are budding, the turtles are out. Everything's moving. It's saying spring. So, it can only get better, right?
Well, get better. Hopefully it will. Now, historically, I classified this lake going through a stingy period, and
Sure.
Typically it happens before the spawn. How much impact does the weather have on this stingy period, Casey?
Oh, a ton. So, I fished some other spring tournaments down here. You get a more of a mild winter, and those fish they don't go as deep. They stay, kind of up there in a catchable range, where the seasons are just longer. Right now, they're going to come to the bank, they're going to feed for a little bit, and they're going to be spawning. Typically we go, jerk bait, A-rig, then you get a little couple weeks of wigglewort, crankbait, spinnerbait, throw that jig around, and then it's time for the spawn. But right now, there's just very few up on the bank, and they're coming, and here in a few weeks they're going to get up there and do their thing.
All right, let's talk about your season so far. You had 2 really decent events, and then you kind of had a slip up at the last event. How would you classify your season so far?
Oh man, started out great. The first 2 tournaments were really fun. Caught a ton of fish. Had some warm weather, so I was really excited about that. Like you said, little slip up there at Seminole. That was a weird event, hard to wrap your head around. You try to analyze it after you're done, but had a good practice, located some fish. Probably just fished too much of the lake, honestly. It was a tough derby, no matter if you were on the winning school or not. It was tough to get 5 bites, and that was one of those deals where I probably just needed to slow down, and one more bite, one more 3-pound bite, and I get a paycheck, and you move up 40 places. So that was just a tough event. So I'm going to put that one past me, and this is going to be another grinder right here. And thankfully I've got a little bit of history here, and no matter how practice goes, I'm going to be confident about where I'm throwing at tournament day. So I'm going to be hopefully making a move in this one and gaining some more points toward Angler of the Year.
Is a limit going to be tough to catch? You can look at the recent team results over the last month, and 2 guys in the boat, not many of them bringing in 5. So is this a deal where the weather's going to play to your advantage, where it will become easier to catch a limit each day? Or when you get 5, is it like high 5 your Marshall time?
I hope it's going to get easier, but it's going to be high 5 your Marshall time for sure. Bites are hard to come by, and when you get one, dude, it's a good one. They are full of shad. They're healthy. Grand Lake's got a lot of 3 to 5 pound fish in it, and they're going to show up this week. So getting 5 of them is going to be big time. And, just looking at the tournament from last week, I think there was 18 limits weighed in. That's between 2 guys, possibly some A-rig action there. And so that's tough, man. Those guys know this lake. They're good here. There's 200 boats in that tournament. So limits are going to be gold in this tournament for sure.
Casey, the history of the lake, and so many people, they like to split the lake up into 3 sections. You have above Sailboat Bridge, then you have the mid-lake area, then you have the lower lake area. In your experience during practice, do you try to find something in all three of those areas, or do you focus on one area?
I've looked at all three areas this week a little bit. But I try to pick two areas, the two areas that I'm most comfortable with on the lake. And, I kind of will spend one day of practice in a certain section, then I'll spend another day of practice in another section. And then, you kind of compare notes and try to narrow it down after that. It's a big lake. And, this week it's really important to run around because there's a lot of different water clarity. There's a lot of different water temperatures, and the fish are in different stages probably according to that. So you really gotta. I really burned a lot of gas this week trying to look at the lake. So, but it's one of those deals where you just kind of got to get in where you feel comfortable with, whether that's clear water, dirty water, shallow water, or deep water. You kind of just got to go with your strengths and try to make it work, because this lake's got a ton of fish. There's not a lot of dead water on any of these Ozark lakes, so you really got to kind of just, pick it apart.
You look at the weights that it's taken to win the first three, and going into this FLW Tour season, I thought this is going to basically break the record for everything for total weights. I mean, we had Latimer hit the 80-pound mark at Seminole, and then we saw what happened at Rayburn, and we've seen what happened in Florida. Are we going to keep the pace of 80-plus pounds to win a tour event going this week at Grand?
You know what? Very easily could. If the fishing picks up a little bit and, limits become easier to come by, you'll definitely see that. You saw 27 to win this weekend, I think, 27 and change.
Mm-hmm.
When you catch one here, it's the kind of fish that makes up a 20-pound bag. So you could definitely see it. I'm thinking more like low 70s, upper 60s, but you never know. I hope we do see it, and I think we missed those other three tournaments just a little bit. Looking at the season, there's potential for, several 100-plus pounds.
Yeah, Terry Bolton only had 17 on the final day there, and he still had, cracked the 90-pound mark. And we saw what Buddy Gross did, too, with the lightweight, and he had 85. So I am optimistic that we could go the entire FLW Tour season where it takes a 20-pound bag every single day to win. The only thing is, you guys are really going to have to dead nuts nail Cherokee for 20 pounds a day. But that's doable there, because then, you go look at Chickamauga, that's going to take 20 a day. And then Champlain, that always takes right at 20 a day too, depending on the wind there. But I think that would be badass if you could go all 7 events with 20 pounds a day is what it takes to win.
I agree. It's super fun going to these lakes at the right time, and catching big fish. I think I've caught 4 fish over 10 pounds this year, just because of where we were at. Florida, Texas to start the year. How awesome is that?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, and I don't want you to give too many details, but can you talk a little bit about water clarity and what the water temp is right now?
The water temp on my Garmin's right now where I'm sitting at says 71.1. Or I'm sorry, God, that's really warm.
My God, what bathtub are you in?
51.1. So I'm looking at, let's say anywhere from low 40s, down in that clear water, or mid 40s, I should say, to upper 50s. So you got a wide range there, and you got water clarity from 3 feet to 1 inch, I would say. So I've, there's some water clarity where you could definitely get away with throwing a jerk bait and some other things like that. And, you could throw a big gaudy spinnerbait in a foot of water if you wanted to. So it's really kind of weird. You might go into one cove and it's, really muddy, and you can go down a quarter mile and, the water clarity completely changes. So they're not pulling a lot of current, so that water, clarity should kind of hold where it's at and not move around a whole lot. But it's really weird. It's just it's not very consistent as far as water clarity goes or water temperature.
Whole lake going to play though?
I think so. I think guys are going to, figure out how to catch them up there in that clear water. The mid lake's going to definitely play like it always does. And, guys are definitely going to catch them in the river. That water warms up a little faster. Those guys are going to get back in there and out of that current and find a few fish, I'm sure. So whole lake's going to play, I believe.
All right, Casey, I'm curious, and you guide on Lake of the Ozarks, and obviously time on the water, but is there anything about guiding that really helps you from a tournament perspective? And everybody says, yes, it's time on the water, but I'm just curious, being a guide, are you able to get dialed in on something simply not just because you're on the water, but being able to maybe see some things with these people that you're taking out that you might take some of that strategy or patterns or whatever it is and use that from a tournament perspective?
I definitely learn a lot every day that I'm out there. Usually I'm baiting hooks and getting snags undone and retying and doing all that stuff. But, it's something there, they make casts that I would never make, or, I use lighter lures and different things like that so they don't snag up quite as much. And it's amazing how fall rate, line size, and I'll have them throwing to where I've caught 100 fish on a point or something like that, and they're not catching, and a guy will wing one out the back in 40 foot of water, and all of a sudden, like, we're catching fish. So they've put me on them a few times, and I noticed for sure, I usually got them with spinning rods. They definitely get more bites on the lighter line size. So I'm able to sit back as a guide and kind of watch what's going on out there, and I definitely learn a lot out there. And we definitely don't know, we overcomplicate it. We don't know nearly as much as we think we do about it.
All right,
the old Hail Mary.
That's right.
Straight out
the old
back.
Hail Mary pays off only in the back of the boat on guide trips.
Yeah.
You could never pull that off in a tournament.
No.
But guide trips works every day.
No, I had a buddy we were fishing team tournament. He ties on a 10-foot diver and wings it out the other side of the boat at about 65 foot. And I go, hey, jackass, it's 65 foot out there. Whoa, there's one freaking 6.5 pounder. We won the tournament over suspended fish over 60 foot of water because
Hey,
Yeah,
Casey,
what do you know, man?
Yeah,
exactly.
He's like, I told you.
Hey, you said something, and I want your take on this. Do professional anglers and the weekend guys sometimes just overcomplicate things and don't go back to just simple ideas and concepts, Casey?
Absolutely. You're burning down the bank in these tournaments, and you're trying to find them. And, you just, sometimes you just got to slow down and fish. And, my tournament fishing has gotten a lot better, since I've kind of put the brakes on a little bit and just, you go with the tried and true techniques. There's really, the fish are going to bite a lot of different lures. You walk up and down the aisles at Bass Pro Shops, there's endless stuff to catch them on, and they bite all of it at some time, so you stick with what what you think is going to work at that time of the year, and then you just kind of slow down and focus on finding fish. We can overcomplicate the heck out of stuff. A brown jig, black and blue jig works all the time everywhere. So
all right, we're going to play a little game here. And what I want you to do is I want you to answer whether you modify or use it right out of the package. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
I like it.
Very general, though. Very general.
Okay.
All right. Majority of your crankbaits.
I switch the hooks on, so modify.
Okay. Jerk baits.
Modify, switch the hooks.
Okay. Spinner baits.
Usually change the blades as well. Usually upsize the blade a little bit, so modify, yeah.
Okay. Chatter baits. Or bladed jig.
Straight out of the pack.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't know. Am I missing something here?
No, I mean, well, I mean, the only thing you really can modify is you could change a skirt or color the blade, but now they've got the oxidized blades and the skirts are money.
Right.
So,
right. Anything else, Matthew, you could think of? I mean, obviously. I mean, those were kind of the 4 that I was thinking about. Any others? That you
like a
buzz baits?
Yeah, I'm curious about top waters.
Yeah.
The buzz bait.
Yeah.
I will definitely, squeak it out before I get to the lake. I'm going to take a file to it and do anything I can to make it sound louder, hang it out the window for, the ride to the boat ramp. So, yeah, modified.
All right, next question. And we're done with that. That's pretty cool. What is the coldest water temperature that you have caught a fish on a topwater?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm going to say upper 40s.
So on
like
the
49, 48.
Wow.
Okay, that's not bad.
Okay, on the Ozark Lakes, and I'm kind of generalizing here, but when do you get to the point where, okay, it's hit a certain degree temp that topwater is going to come into play?
I'm 70-degree temp, it's going to come into play for sure. Once it starts cooling down, once you start seeing shad on the bank, I throw a topwater year round in the Ozarks, but that shallow topwater bite, that really kicks off, when you start getting some cooler nights. Water temp starts getting into the 70s, so October-ish,
All right. I got one more question.
Okay.
I want to see the ugliest lure in your boat right now. I mean, we never get you guys when you're out there. You've got your game day stuff in the boat because the derby starts in like 2 days. I want to see the ugliest, nastiest, oldest thing that's in your boat.
You know what? I kind of cleaned some stuff up yesterday, but I got some nasties. Yesterday was good. I had some really nasty stuff out there that didn't work. But here's kind of a nasty spinnerbait I'll get for you. The spinnerbait's going to play this week for sure, by the way. It is Grand Lake. All right.
It sounds like pots and pans clicking together there, Casey.
Can you see this bad boy?
Ooh, that's a chartreuse. Is that hammered? Is that a hammered gold blade?
Hammered gold, half and half.
What's the difference between the smooth, like a smooth one and a hammered one? Is that like a...
Move it over to your left just a little bit.
Let's see if I can spin it.
Is that round rubber?
A little bit.
Very nice.
Yeah. So
short shank.
Yeah. So that one's actually coming out. That's our new Trophy Bass Company spinnerbait. We're going to have that out in a few weeks. It's tried and true Ozark special right there.
Very nice.
Get my hands on a couple of those.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
I'll send you some.
Oh, okay.
All right, cool deal. Casey, man, wish you the best this week. Thank you so much. It's very, very cool to be able to do this while you're entrenched in your practice on this Grand Lake event. So it's been a while since I spoke with you, but, man, I appreciate you taking time out.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me. Looks like this fog's going to lift, so I'm going to get back after it.
All right, cool deal. Best of luck to you. We will talk to you soon, Casey.
All right, see you, boys.
Man. See you.
Bye.
All right, good stuff there. Casey Scanlon, and pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did you like that question?
No, that's a great. We need to do that more often.
Yeah, don't you think most of the guys modify? In some way. Most of the time the modification is they change
I don't know.
the hooks out.
I feel like no, because a lot of guys will use the hooks not only to get sharper or better penetrating or more stickier hooks, but they will use the hooks to weight the bait, especially this time of the year, whether it be a lot of those kind of flat side crankbaits or shad wraps or jerk baits you can achieve instead of using a suspend dot or a suspend strip or drilling into it or lead core around the hook. They will just upsize the hook or go to a 2X or go to one size smaller depending on what action they want.
Now, have you ever seen guys take the original hooks right out of the box and completely bend them in to where they can't get bit and actually use those hooks to determine whether or not they can get on fish, find fish, whatever?
So one of the cool things that I actually did a story a couple years ago with Alton Jones was in practice when he wanted to get a crankbait bite going in practice but didn't want to stick the fish. Yeah. He would bend in the 5 of the 6 hooks, on a regular crankbait. So it maintains the same weight. So you have the same wiggle and all that. And then he would clip the barb or mashed the barb down on one of the hooks on the back treble. And then he would bend it and open it out slightly, so it was like that.
Yeah.
To where he could feel the fish, pull on the fish, but then give it slack and that fish could shake the crankbait free.
Huh. Interesting.
I thought it was pretty smart.
That is pretty cool. All right. I have this question for you. Do you think that tackle manufacturers would ever consider sending a product to market with no hooks on it?
I've seen them in tackle stores that were more mom and pop style baits without hooks on it, but it would have to be really specialty and really target a super ultra small cross section that actually changes the hooks. Because I fish in a bass club, Mark. I fish with my friends, and it would shock you how many guys go straight out of the pack.
It's like what the legend said, right? You remember what the legend said?
I said, legend, this hookie's rusty. I need a new... Matthew, set the hook harder.
Exactly.
But I'm talking about the treble hooked baits.
Yeah.
I mean,
it might be an option. I don't know. Is it profitable?
Now there's some baits like the Vixen that you got right there.
Yeah.
Those are damn good hooks on that.
Yeah.
And I remember back in the day, the Sabile baits had those silver hooks on them that looked like crap, but oh my gosh, they were ridiculous. You basically can't throw a 110 without the out barbs, the number 6 out barbs on it, and the number 4 on the Ito Shiner. But other than that,
Do you remember the Sluggo? And we've talked about the Sluggo on this show before. They used to have hooks.
No, but it had a little bit longer shank between the eye and the 90-degree bend, so you could get the head on it, and then it had a little bit deeper belly in the hook there. But it was really thick and kind of a bronze color, bronze color, and had a really long point before the barb came.
Yeah. That point right there. Have you ever seen? Besides that, that's the only one that I can think of off the top of my head, where a soft plastic company had teamed up with a hook company to actually create a package of which was very marketable with soft plastics and hooks.
I believe when the Hollow Belly came out,
it had some hooks
back in the day. The first rendition of the Hollow Belly came with a weighted hook and a treble hook to where you could belly rig it.
But I'm talking like a 10-inch worm or a lizard.
Yeah,
or
there's some companies they'll have like a little pack of hooks in there that go with it.
It's kind of a cool idea. Mm-hmm. I can't recall it ever being marketed that well.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of the serious guys are going to go with what they have confidence in.
What the masses want, though, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, they would be able to buy one thing and throw it. That's why I think a hookless crankbait would be, you're not going to lose anybody. You're not going to have a guy go, I'm not going to buy it because it has hooks on it.
Yeah.
Now, you might be able to sell a little bit cheaper, but I mean, if you're using a mass discount hook that you're buying 50, 100,000 of them at the same time.
Could it be appealing to the weekend guy, to the recreational guy a little bit more if you buy a pack of lizards that you get hooks with it?
Yeah, I said I think
maybe
that's been out there before. They've done that.
I don't remember that at all. Kevin in Illinois wants to know if you modify your stuff for the Costas.
I do, but I use a Rogue a lot. So that involves... I mean, back when I was like really serious with the nickels in the early spring, I would have the suspend dots and the suspend strips, and then
do you use the wire?
A 5 or 6. No, I have 5 or 6 different types of hooks, and then I would use a different hook on the front to get it to suspend right, and then I'd just walk down where I was staying, and I modify those Rogues in the water that I plan on fishing that week, because it doesn't work if you do it in the tub. Because you're talking about different density, you're talking about different watercolor, different elevation. So I would get there, the evening before I fish and actually spend 2-3 hours down there with my little kit, getting the dang things ready. And then, usually 3rd or 4th cast the next day, you bang it off a dock and break the bill off. And now, now you're like, I just wasted an hour.
All right, we haven't talked about this mainly because we've had 2 shows after the Classic, but. The Classic winning baits, typically we see a bump in the industry from whatever the guy is using predominantly that won.
What was I using?
You don't remember?
Yeah, but I can't off the top of my head the guy who won
the big
it.
day on the final day, he caught those fish on a chatterbait or a bladed jig.
Okay.
All right. Which in turn leads me to the next question. I mean, he used, I think he used a crankbait, and he used like you remember he was using the Sharpie to discolor the rattle bait. I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head what it was. But the 2 points that I'm trying to make to get your thoughts on. Number one, it's pretty bad when you can't even remember what it was. The chatterbait.
It was using, a bladed jig, and then he was using that Arashi Vibe.
Yes, that he was using the Sharpie and coloring.
kind of a goofy looking rattling bait.
Okay, so my first question is are we going to see that bait come out in the color that he was coloring it to?
I would have to imagine that you're going to have Ott's Craw coming out sometime soon or something.
In that color. So, but we haven't really seen, at least I haven't seen anything that gives us indications that there was one dominant bait that is having a huge impact on sales from a retail perspective. I could be wrong, but I don't think...
Yeah, there wasn't a magic bait.
Yeah, that everybody had to have it.
You know what I think is having the most impact from this classic?
Yeah.
Is the mag draft that Zaldane caught 22 pounds on.
Yeah.
And he finished 12th in the dang thing.
Because he had the largest limit of the event.
But it's also a super unique bait. And the thing is, a lot of the guys are throwing the same thing. You know what I also think has a big impact? The DT6. That's definitely probably going to we saw what Ike was able to do on live with it, and that is just a bait that gets bit this time of the year.
Yeah,
so
that's
I think you're going to see that. But I mean, every time they say unnamed jig, how do you quantify like which tournament is why the chatterbait is selling? Is it the Bassmaster Classic? Is it Edwin on Lake Conroe? Is it the guy, the FLW Tour? Is it Rick Clun on
Which leads me to my next question.
The St. John's River.
Is that the most dominant bait
100%
so far this year?
Right now.
Yeah.
It's 100%. And it's going to continue to be.
Yeah.
Someone will have a top 10 on it on Grand. Someone will have a top 10 skipping a chatterbait around docks on Grand.
Yeah.
Or running it down the rock riprap catching the pre-spawners.
It's pretty amazing. And folks, for those that are listening or watching, if you have not seen the documentary, the 20 Feet Deep documentary on the chatterbait, you need to take some time out and watch it. We had an opportunity to actually spend some time with the guy that invented it and went through the whole process, and you get some insight from so many of the pros in the beginning that really came across this unbelievable bait. And it's really, really a good watch. So over on basszone.com, just go to the 20 Feet Deep section and you can see the documentary. All right. So many people are wanting to know about the backpack situation.
Yeah.
I forgot to talk about
that.
All
right. So set it up.
All right. So here's what happened. Ike Live and Bass University Live, they were doing stuff in their own little area, and they were using all my equipment, and I just kind of made that my headquarters when I was at the expo. And Brian the Carpenter had this couch, and there was plenty of area, and I set my backpack down because I was getting ready to go do the Bob Cobb interview for the documentary that we're doing. So I got my camera ready, I got everything, the audio, everything was good, and I left my backpack on the couch. This is before the show even opens. All right? So I did the interview with Bob Cobb. It went much longer than I thought it was going to do. It was magnificent. I spent 45 minutes, almost an hour with him. Story after story after story. Got done with it. The show opened up. I didn't even realize that the show was opening up until this mass of people started wandering around.
They had them out there like cattle, herded into lines for like a quarter of a mile.
It was unbelievable how many people were waiting.
Unbelievable is the fact that you misspelled my last name again today.
Did I really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry, dude. I'll change it here in a minute. I'll make sure tomorrow it's good.
Continue with your story.
Anyway, so I wrapped up the interview and I went back to the area there where the Bass University was taking place. Backpack's gone. I look at Brian the Carpenter. Brian, what'd you do with my backpack? Because he's always moving stuff around, trying to keep the area clean and all that. He's like, what backpack? I said, well, there was only one backpack around here that had a lion on it.
And a Nike swoosh.
And a Nike swoosh.
That line, if you're watching it right
Yeah.
there, it's basically that shirt in a backpack form.
Pretty much.
Not pretty much, it is. if that shirt he was wearing was a backpack, that's what it would look
It's
like.
actually a hoodie that I'm wearing. But anyway, so he was like, no, dude, I don't know where it is. So I turned and I looked at Eric, the intern, and Eric,
He's no help.
he didn't help me at all. He didn't even know what a backpack was. So I start looking around, look behind the couch, look around, don't see it. I'm like, dude, somebody nabbed my backpack. So now I go on a rage. And I am in full rage mode, walking around the show, trying to find
What'd you have in there?
I go back to where I did the interview with Bob Cobb just to see, okay, did I leave it there? Nope, nowhere to be found, because we did it right in front of the, what is that called? The casting tank or whatever, the seminar tank where they have all the fish in the tank and stuff. We did the interview there. It wasn't there, so I'm walking around, still walking. This place is getting jam-packed. Go back to where the Bash University booth is. Still nothing. Brian, did you find it? No, man, didn't find it. So I start walking back toward the door. And there, about 30, 40 yards away, I see my backpack. It's on the back of some dude wearing some supplemented jersey with no name on the back, and I could not make out any of the design that he had on the back. And I go, I'm not going to scream, but I screamed. I go, hey, you, that's my backpack. And he turns around and he looks right at me. He drops the backpack right there in the aisle and takes off running for the exit. So I go sprinting, scoop up the backpack, and he is long gone.
How old was he?
He didn't take the probably 15,
You
16.
think he was a high school angler?
Yeah. 15, 16.
I wish he'd have caught him.
It would have been bad. I mean, I'm not going to beat the kid up or anything
you
like
should've.
that. I'm just going to scare the crap out of him.
Oh, no. That kid deserved to get his ass
But the dude
handed
just
to
walked
him.
by and nabbed the backpack.
And then stayed in the building.
Yeah. And had it wrapped around his shoulder. All right. I had media drives in there. I had medicine in there. I had my inhaler in there. I had
Yeah, what if you had an asthma attack?
I know.
You had probably yeah.
Yeah.
You had life in there.
did.
Like all your stuff.
No, I
that
didn't have
keeps
any
you-
equipment because I still had all the camera stuff and everything. But the dude just turns around, looks at me, drops the backpack, boom, he's gone.
Whoa.
And I'm screaming, and there were so many people in there. I don't know how he got out, but later I figured out where he went and how he got out of there. If you went out the doors and you went to the right, there was nobody there. That's because the stairs were right there and nobody wanted to take the stairs. So he went up the stairs instead of taking the escalator that was
Would you
jam-packed.
recognize this guy?
No, he's just some kid. And it was white with blue. He had blue and red on the sleeves and some crazy design on the back, and I couldn't make it out at all. I don't know. So if you're out there, dude, I'm glad I got my backpack. Don't ever steal stuff from people again, especially old, elderly people like myself.
At least you recognize it.
All right, man. Good show today. That was cool.
Yeah, Casey.
Yeah,
did
that was
good
really
job.
good.
Actually worked out because it was really foggy up there at Grand Lake. So.
Yeah. Tomorrow, we're going to have Andy Montgomery on.
I'm 50-50 on whether I will be in studio.
Well, you told me yesterday you were. I was planning on that. How's he doing today anyway? He's in 13th right now. So he's fishing today. And this is the first time that we've done this. We're going to have a guest on that is currently on his off day during the first initial stage. So we'll get his take on what's going on. And as we mentioned in yesterday's show, the best, mugshot or...
Yeah,
what would you call
he's
it?
a mean
Profile shot?
mug shot.
Oh my gosh,
the best
dude.
profile shot on the guys.
Of any tour.
This is a good one. If you go to the Major League Fishing, they got all their stuff updated. They took the new photos. Some of them jovial, smiling. Look like your local pastor. Andy Montgomery looks like a hired hitman.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And I've really become an Andy Montgomery fan. Some of the stories that he tells, and
what's the over-under on the number of times the word thunder cricket is used tomorrow during the interview?
I don't know. So very, very much looking forward to the interview with Andy, and seems to be doing okay here so far on day number 1. All right, what else, Matt? Anything else?
I got nothing else.
How's your bracket? Did you fill out a bracket?
Did not fill out a bracket this year.
I did see on the news there is one.
No, there's not. It's gone.
It's gone?
Yeah, it's done. No perfect brackets left.
Really? Because they said on the news, I was listening to...
Only 0.3% have all Sweet 16 teams.
Are you sure about that, dude? I think there's one bracket left.
No,
they were talking about that.
I just watched how there were no perfect brackets.
You sure? I know the Duke thing, the Duke game, the Duke UCF game would have sent things in total disarray. Golly, man, that was a great basketball game. Really, really enjoyed that. Too bad I was pulling for the underdog too, even though I had Duke in my bracket. All right, I think that's it, Matthew. What are you doing?
It says there's one, but it was a day ago, I feel.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That was 8 hours ago? I thought it...
Yeah, it was like an 18 billion.
For some reason,
shot.
I thought that there wasn't, but yeah.
Yeah,
on NCAA.com, they found the man who has the last perfect bracket in the world. It's hard to reach. Did not have good service in his basement.
Yeah. There you have it. One bracket remains.
When does the Sweet 16 start?
I think Friday or Saturday. Thursday, maybe. No, I think Thursday. Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember. I think Thursday. All right, everybody. Want to thank everybody once again for
He's a
taking
neuropsychologist from Columbus, Ohio.
part. Wow. Okay. Good for him. Anyway, tomorrow, as we mentioned, Andy Montgomery, and then make sure you check out Matt. He's going to be doing the color over the weekend on the Grand Lake FLW event over on FLWfishing.com. So, once again, if you have not rated us and done a review over on iTunes, please do that. It helps us out tremendously. And we will be back tomorrow at the same time. Matthew, so far, so good.
So far, so good. You didn't even know he had a perfect bracket until they called him and wanted to do an interview.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. All right, everybody, stay tuned. We're out of here.